tonight. This is basically for my family, and I'm not a preacher, I'm not a teacher, but I've been in the book been in the truth for a number of years, and I just like to share some of the things that some of my teachers have shared with me and that I have learned along the way. Starting with Brother Nehemiah and Brother Jediah and his brother right here, Brother Nate. I want all you all to know that I appreciate you and I love you all. And I want to share some of this about what I've learned about the Sabbath day with my family. So let's get ready and get into it. We're going to start at Genesis 2 and 1. We're going to go through from 1 through 4. Go ahead, brother.
Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. These are the generations of the heaven and of the earth when they were created, in the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens.
Here we see that that the Lord blessed the day, blessed the Sabbath day. He sanctified it, and which means he set it apart from all other days. I used to work with this guy, and he was an older guy, and he was a nice man, and we were talking one day, and he was telling me that the Sabbath day was every day. He could celebrate, he could worship the Lord any day of the week because every day was a Sabbath. And I wasn't too sure about that, but like I said, he was older than me, and so, I listened to him. But once I got into the truth, I realized that's not necessarily so. Right. And this is, and what we're reading here, this proves it. Let's go to Exodus 20. All right, you can go ahead and read Exodus 20, start at verse 1.
Verse 1. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image.
That's good, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Jump down to 8.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
Mm-hmm. So what we seeing here is you can worship the Lord any day you like. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But the Lord sanctified the seventh day. Lord sanctified the seventh day, and he made it holy. And so we're not able to, or we shouldn't be going to church on Sundays. And because the Lord didn't sanctify Sunday. He sanctified the seventh day. He that comes from him doing all his work, starting on the first day of the week and he worked 6 days, and he rested on the seventh day, which is the Sabbath day. It was good enough for him. It should be good enough for us. We work, we wash our cars, we go to the ball games, we do whatever we need to do for 6 days. Now that's a problem with the world because Saturday is a big day with the world. Right. Saturday's a big day with the world. That's when we mostly when we wash our cars, mostly when we go to the ball games, right. Mostly when we go shopping and go to the malls. But that's contrary to the word of God. That's the day when we should be resting. We should be relaxing with our families, taking it easy, and going to church, having a holy convocation, going to church, and learning about the Lord. And eventually we'll find out why the Sabbath day is so important to the Lord. All right, we're going to move along, and let's go to Exodus 23. We're going to go to Exodus 23. We're going to start at verse 10. And you can go ahead and read, bro.
If a man deliver unto his neighbor an ass, or an ox, or a sheep, or any, 23?
23 and 10. Exodus
10,
23
okay.
and 10.
And 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and shalt gather in the fruits thereof. But the 7th year thou shalt let it rest and lie still, that the poor of thy people may eat, and what they leave the beasts of the field shall eat. In like manner thou shalt deal with thy vineyard and with thy olive yard. 6 days thou shalt do work.
Bro.
Okay.
That's good. What we see here is not only does man need to rest after 6 days, the land needs to rest after 6 years. The growers, the farmers, as they grow the food that we eat, they're supposed to grow the food work the land for 6 years, and then the 7th year they're supposed to let it rest. And they're supposed to, whatever crops come up in that 7th year, well then let the poor people come by and get the food. And all that they don't eat, then let the animals come and get the food. And so not only is man supposed to rest, but man's supposed to let the land rest, but man don't want to do anything that the Lord really wants him to do. Man wants to keep working the earth, keep working the land, and the land is tired. It's killing it. That's why they're putting chemicals in the land to keep the food producing. But man just does not want to do right. All right, so let's go to our next one. Let's go to Exodus 31 and 12. When you get there, brother, you can go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, Verily my Sabbath ye shall keep. For it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you. Ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defile it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever do any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people.
Go to 16.
Wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. It is this.
That's good right there, brother. This is something else. What we see here, the Sabbath is a sign between the Lord and us, the children of Israel. And we're supposed to keep the Sabbath throughout, what does it say? All your generations. That means forever. And for a perpetual covenant, a perpetual means it's a never ending, or it's a continuance covenant. And this is one of the reasons that is so important. It's another reason that it's important to the Lord. All right, so let's go to Jeremiah. Let's go Jeremiah 17. 19. We were in the Old Testament. We're getting ready to go into the New Testament now, because some people they may say, that's Old Testament.
Mm-hmm.
That's Old Testament knowledge, Old Testament reading. You just want to stay in the Old Testament. Right. All right, so we're going to move around, and we're going to go to the New Testament, and we're going to see that, and this is hundreds of years after the Lord, and people still keeping the Sabbath.
Right.
Still keeping the Sabbath. All right, so we're here in Jeremiah 17, and we're going to start at verse 19. And we're going to go all the way to 27, brother. Go ahead.
Thus saith the Lord unto me, Go and stand in the gate of the children of the people, whereby the kings of Judah come in, and by the which they go out, and in all the gates of Jerusalem. And say unto them, Hear ye the word of the Lord, ye kings of Judah, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem that enter in by these gates. Thus saith the Lord, Take heed to yourselves, and bear no burden on the Sabbath day, nor bring it in by the gates of Jerusalem. Neither carry forth a burden out of your houses on the Sabbath day, neither do ye any work, but hallow ye the Sabbath day, as I commanded your fathers. But they obeyed not, neither inclined their ear, but made their necks stiff, that they might not that they might not hear, nor receive instruction. And it shall come to pass, if ye diligently hearken unto me, saith the Lord, to bring in no burden through the gates of this city on the Sabbath day, but hallow the Sabbath day, to do no work therein, then shall there enter into the gates of this city kings and princes, sitting upon the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses, they and their princes, the men of Judah, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and this city shall remain forever. And they shall come from the cities of Judah, and from the places about Jerusalem, and from the land of Benjamin, and from the plain, and from the mountains, and from the south, bringing burnt offerings and sacrifices, and meat offerings and incense, and bringing sacrifices of praise unto the house of the Lord. But if ye will not hearken unto me to hallow the Sabbath day, and not to bear a burden, even entering in at the gates of the Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then will I kindle a fire in the gates thereof, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem, and it shall not be quenched.
Uh-huh. And this is showing where hundreds of years after the death of the Lord, they still supposed to be keeping the Sabbath. And the Lord is basically bargaining with Israel. The Lord is conditional. He will do this if you do that. Or when he wants to punish you, if you do this, then he will do that. And what he's saying basically is just keep the Sabbath. Israel, just keep the Sabbath day. I don't want to kick you out of your land. I want you to stay in your land. So if you just keep the Sabbath day, then I'll allow, what do you say, that then there shall enter into the gates of this city kings and princesses sitting upon the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses, they and their princesses, the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and the city shall remain forever. But that's not what happened. Israel became stiff-necked. They did not want to follow the Sabbath day. And the Lord did just what he said he was going to do. That if you will not hearken unto me and hallow the Sabbath day, and not to bear a burden, even entering into the gates of Jerusalem on the Sabbath day, then will I kindle a fire in the gates thereof, and it shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem, and shall not be quenched. And that's what the Lord did. The Lord sent armies into Jerusalem, sacked Jerusalem, and the Lord ended up kicking Israel out of the land, because Israel's supposed to be a holy people, and they're supposed to be living in a holy land. And like you said today, if you're not going to be holy, well then the Lord's gonna kick you out the land. And that's exactly That's exactly what happened. All right, let's go to the next one, Isaiah 58. Let's go to Isaiah 58, and brother, we're going to read 13 and 14. When you get that, you can go ahead.
If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thy own ways, nor finding thy own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words, then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it.
When the Lord says, then thou shalt delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places. He's saying he's going to bless you. And the heritage of Jacob, that means when he gives you the heritage of Jacob, that means that's the land of Israel. And so if we follow the Sabbath day, if we keep the Sabbath day, and look forward to it, and don't do the things that we do on the other 6 days. On the Sabbath day, we're supposed to be taking it easy. We're supposed to be resting. If anyone comes to our house to visit, then they got to keep the Sabbath day too. And if they can't keep the Sabbath day, well then, hey, they can't come by. And if you have a business, you're supposed to let your workers off on the Sabbath day. There's supposed to be no buying, no selling, no cooking. You just the only work that's supposed to be done on the Sabbath day is work related to the church. That's it. All right. Let's go to we're getting ready to go to Hebrews 13 and 8. This is the last one. And this is for people who may say, well, that was for the Jews, or that was for back in those days, or this is going to take care of that. Let's go to we're here at Hebrews 13 and 8. Go ahead, bro.
Jesus Christ the same yesterday and today and forever.
What was good for them is good for us. What's good for us will be good for others after us.
Right.
The Sabbath day, in summary, the Sabbath day is supposed to be on the 7th day. You can take your calendar. Anyone can get a calendar or take their calendar, and the calendar will show that Sunday is the first day of the week.
That's
right. And you count over 6 days, and that's going to take you to Friday. The 7th day is Saturday, which is the Sabbath day. So why is it that we've been going to church on Sundays? It's partly our fault because the book tells us to read, but the Lord puts it squarely at the feet of the preachers. Right. He puts it at the feet of the Sunday preachers. It's not our parents' fault or their parents' fault or their parents on down the line. It's not their fault. The Lord puts it squarely at the feet of the preachers. The preachers I'm just a regular brother. Just like this brother is a regular brother. And if we know this, the preachers who get up here and hoop and holler on Sundays, they know it as well.
That's right, absolutely.
And so the Sabbath day is supposed to be kept throughout all generations, until the Lord comes, and even beyond. He's gonna do it too. it's a commandment from God. It's not a commandment from Moses. This is a commandment from God, and also, it's one of the commandments in the 10 Commandments. You can't if you're trying to get to the kingdom, you can't forget about the Sabbath day. You can't have the Sabbath day on a Sunday, because that's not going to work. So the Sabbath day is not done away with. And I just wanted to take a few minutes of your time, and I appreciate it, to talk about the Sabbath day, and hopefully somebody understands this. Hopefully, even if it's just one person that gets this, and if anyone wants to call me or text me, you all know how to reach me. We can talk about it. We can talk about it further. All right, Brother Nate, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name, amen.